Welcome to I Caught It on Audio. This is Water Cooler Chat episode 23, Barb.
Welcome to I Caught It on Audio. We're going to gather around the water cooler today and have a little chat about the movie Barbie. The idea behind this was to pick movies that we think are going to be Oscar contenders for Best Picture this in the upcoming Oscar season. There's kind of a consensus that Barbie's got a good chance at that, and we're still early in the Oscar season, so there weren't many other options, so we decided to start with this one. I saw this way back in July, so I'm a little fuzzy on it. When did you guys see it most recently?
I saw it last weekend.
I watched it last night for probably the third time, I believe.
Oh, and so you're all in.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
So, Dan, what are your thoughts on this movie?
Well, first, let me just say that three middle-aged white men is the proper forum for us to discuss this movie.
Oh yes, we're authorities on this.
But no ladies wanted to speak with us about this. No,
they don't like us.
I was intending to see it at some point, and then this was the impetus to just go see it. So I went to the theater. Amazingly, it's still in the theater, and I thought, I love watching movies in a nearly empty theater, so this will be cool. And then I went there, and it was about half full still, which is kind of mind-boggling.
Nuts.
Yeah. And it was like I guess it was a Saturday night, so it was a weekend, but kind of amazing how well attended the screening was.
It's at like $1.5 billion or something like that. If I'm not mistaken.
It's an absurd number that it's put up. Well beyond, I think, anyone's expectations. I thought this was an incredibly well-written, incredibly smart movie. Yeah. Yes, there's some obvious things to that points out, which are not unexpected about, patriarchy and sexism and expectations of women, but also articulates those familiar themes really, really well, and then shows you in context, this is what it feels like when those things are actually applying to people, and in the most absurd way possible, of course. But
yeah,
it was both dumb and smart in the best way. There's a lot of like all the Ken stuff is pretty silly and over the top, but it's also the actual writing is very, very well thought out and very, very, very well done. And it really articulates what it's trying to say very well. The acting was fantastic. I thought it was a great movie. I do think it's interesting that some people, conservative people, or men, are a little put out and being like, oh, this is just bashing guys and stuff. And I could see what they're saying in a way, if you ignore the fact that all of media for as long as it's existed has been the other side of the aisle, so to speak.
Absolutely,
it's telling its story from a woman's perspective by a woman, co-written by a woman, Greta Gerwig, who is just becoming one of the best directors out there for sure. And I think she co-wrote it with her husband, Noah Baumbach. So yeah, you might say that this is taking this isn't spending a whole lot of time, although it does spend a little time with the difficulty that that men face because of patriarchal things. But yeah, it definitely concentrates on the female version. But you know what? We get plenty of the other side, so let it. This is written from, hey, this is what sucks about having to be a woman in the modern world. So it doesn't have to spend half of its runtime describing how also men have it hard.
Right. And it doesn't, like you said, it does touch on that a little bit, how men aren't allowed to have emotions and think, and express them and all that stuff. It does touch on that too.
Zach, what are your thoughts? Three-timer?
Yeah. So I love this movie a lot. I wouldn't watch it 3 times if I didn't. I'm one of those people that really, really dislikes it when a movie gets preachy, and when a movie, TV show, whatever, when instead of clever writing, pushing an agenda in a way that is subtle and sort of just beneath the surface, if it tries to like hammer you over the head with it or jam it down your throat, I don't get into that. And but this movie doesn't quite feel that way. Even though there's very, very clearly a message here, it just doesn't feel like it's trying to jam it down your throat. And in fact, it's kind of like winking at you the whole time. Like, do you get it? Do you get the joke? Do you get what's going on below the surface? And I really like that. I like that it takes this sort of surreal approach, like the whole start of the movie where you're in Barbie land, and I'm just imagining that some kid, some girl is playing with these toys,
Yeah.
but you don't see them. Like it's just all, it's all, you see the other half of it. You see from the toys perspective. It's almost like Toy Story in that way. You're kind of getting the perspective from the toys, not from the children or the agent of the toys.
Barbie Land is living out the scenarios that the children who are playing with the toys are coming up with.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So like, Ken wants to go and surf, and he, fails miserably and gets injured and has to go to the doctor and stuff. Or
the ambulance that shows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The use of the toys was phenomenal in the movie.
Yeah. Or I also love the whole like Ken wants to spend the night, and they're like, well, what do we do? And it's like, I don't know. Okay.
Right.
Well, it's girls' night anyway. So, it's exactly what, from a little girl playing with these toys perspective would be, without actually like having that, showing that. And I love that. I love that and all the set design, all the really creative look and feel of everything, the color palette, it's so perfect. And then when it goes to the real world, and again, it's like I'm watching this going like, from a perspective of an adult, you're trying to make sense of this, and these plot elements are just absurd. This doesn't make any sense at all. I'm just going to go with it because it doesn't have to in this case. Like it makes enough sense to get the point across and do what it's trying to do. And I feel like it, the people that were against this film, they just couldn't buy it. Like they didn't have the brain capacity or whatever to like roll with it, just go along with it, enjoy the ride, and just see where it takes you.
Right.
And for me, this is pretty much what I'm always looking for in movies. And so when this came along, and to have it be this very, very mainstream, in some ways it was like, does this finally mean that I get to enjoy mainstream movies because
right.
they're finally doing the thing that I like being done, But yeah, no, it's such a great story, and I like it. It's talking about essentially, plastic dolls, but there's so much human element to it. Whether it's the Ken struggle, whether it's the Barbie struggle, even Weird Barbie. I loved Weird Barbie, Kate
Weird
McKinnon.
Barbie, she's so good. Yeah.
How she just,
my sister definitely had a Weird Barbie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like Teresa was saying that she had one as well. Everybody had one. There's the Barbie that you messed with and didn't care about. You chopped its hair off.
Yeah.
You drew all over it and did the splits and took off pieces of it.
I would be surprised if your sister had any non-weird Barbies, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, even she has a little bit of an arc, and she gets vindication, and she gets to be a part of the cabinet, spoiler alert.
Right.
As in sanitation. But no, it's such a fun movie. And even the really preachy part towards the end with the Rhea Perlman being the Ruth, what's her name? Mendler? Handler, I think. Yeah.
Ruth, the creator of Barbie, right?
Yes. Yep. That part gets a little bit, thick in the weeds of, this is what we're talking about, what we mean. But I'm okay with it. Like this is one of those times where I'm not gonna think, oh, this is wrong and doesn't work for the story, because I felt like it did. It did what it was supposed to do, and it was just a great ride, and it was still enjoyable the third time through. It's so much fun. You get it going, and you strap in and you take the ride. And I absolutely love the ending. There to see her gynecologist.
Yes, finally.
I suspect that women probably enjoyed that joke more than men did, but I imagine something to the effect of she was super cheerful and excited about it, and I was like, I kind of feel like that might only be true as an adult going to your first one.
Yeah.
I think younger women are afraid, and older women are like, oh Jesus, all right, well, whatever, I have to do
Let's
this.
get this over with. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
She's pumped. She's like, this is great.
She's so excited. So the acting, what are you guys' thoughts on the acting? Are we going to see any best actors or actresses from Margot Robbie or Ryan Gosling?
I suspect not. I think maybe you could see a case for America Ferrara.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, I think that would be a good supporting.
She has
yeah,
the big monologue.
She's
the biggest
so
monologue,
good.
and she's really good.
In.
Yep. I mean, they might. Those two, Gosling and Robbie, are the centerpieces. I feel like it might be hurt by the sort of. I don't know. Why not? I guess it's only 5 per category still in those those nomination categories. So
it's weird because I think of their performances, and I think that it doesn't really seem like Oscar worthy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's because they were doing it in a very specific way. Yeah. It was supposed to feel
they nailed it. Though.
Yeah, and they nailed it.
Yeah, they're playing dumb, which sometimes makes people think that you're not doing anything sophisticated.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so I think in that regard, I hope that they do, but I'm not sure because that you have to really look at it in that light. You have to say this is what they were trying to do, and they absolutely nailed it. But it doesn't really feel like it's Oscar worthy because there aren't really. I mean, there are a couple of the like the crying moments and the really emotional stuff, which is usually what the Academy kind of looks out for.
Right. Yeah, either have to have a big emotional scene or a big emotional movie or nudity.
I would say, but brave like art house nudity.
Right, exactly.
Yes. I mean, unless Striptease got Demi Moore an award that I wasn't aware of.
I'm pretty sure it did.
I would say that I wouldn't be angry if either Robbie or Gosling got nominated for best actor or actress. Mm-hmm. But if I had to choose one, I'd probably pick Robbie. Yeah. I think she had a more multifaceted, she had more time to do different things other than playing dumb,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there was no real weak spot in the acting across the board, I wouldn't say.
The evolution of the Barbie character in the movie was a lot. Like she went from a piece of plastic into a full human being, Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She had a good amount to work with. So Zach, why don't you tell us your favorite little nugget of information about the production of this movie?
Oh yes, I was looking up on Wikipedia, and apparently, this movie has been a long time coming, like all the way back into the 80s. Apparently, there were Canon Films was trying to around the same time when they made that awful Masters of the Universe movie with Dolph Lundgren, which is a personal favorite of mine.
It's so much fun, but it is terrible.
Yeah, they were trying to get a Barbie movie off the ground, and they had the rights apparently for a while. But when it actually was getting going in earnest, it looks like probably around 2014, 15 in there. The front runner for casting was Amy Schumer. If you can believe that. I don't think that would have worked. It would have worked for a much different type of movie, but I think it would have fallen flat.
She's just kind of one note is the problem with Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
Well, I do feel like people are really like a little harder on her than maybe she deserves, although I don't think she like you said, Dave, she's one note. But we've got Adam Sandler was an amazingly successful stand-up. I don't find his approach more multi, sort of dimensional than Amy Schumer's.
I wouldn't cast him as Barbie either.
Yeah. But so while I do think that she gets attacked for always making the same joke, I don't think she's amazing or anything. at the same time, I think we would have gotten a sort of a little more crass and a little less sort of intelligent and deep version of Barbie had she been in charge. I mean, again, I don't know who was writing it at this point either. I mean, I think the writing is the key to this movie,
absolutely,
as much as anything else.
The writing is phenomenal. And that's another thing. Do you think it gets best screenplay?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's going to get nominated. I don't know if it'll win,
well,
but
who knows if it'll win? But
the screenplay would be the one thing that I would say it should get nominated for. I think it's more likely it'll be for best film because there's 10, so it's a wider category. But it ought to get both, as far as I'm concerned. But it definitely ought to get a best screenplay. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
Yep, I completely agree.
I have two last things. Before I'm done with saying what I need to say about this movie. One is this is the best possible version of a Barbie movie I can imagine,
without a doubt.
This even knowing it was Greta Gerwig who was going to be involved, I was like, I still can't quite imagine how this will be a useful, not, product. They managed to do all the making Barbie look good, like the toy line Barbie look good, and doing a ton of product placement. They managed to do all that without it sort of undermining the movie itself, and it was incredibly enjoyable and funny. Like that's the thing that. If nothing else, the comic timing and of the editing and the writing is amazing.
It's top notch, no doubt about it.
And then the second thing I wanted to mention was a little moment at the end when the Barbies take back over. They defeated the patriarchy, in Barbie Land. What I thought was so cool about Barbie Land is it's as you say, perhaps it's the imagination of little girls playing with their dolls. Also fun was the introduction with the 2001 Space Odyssey reference. That was kind of fun. So with that sort of as this sort of bizarro land opposite version of the way the world works, and still works to a great degree. But I thought was really kind of a neat moment at the end was when they get it back, and then Supreme Court Justice Barbie, I think. I can't remember. Or maybe it was President Barbie.
Yeah, I think
it was Issa Rae. So I think Ken comes up to her and, one of the Kens. I don't know if it was Gosling or not. And he's like, hey, so can we have a justice in the Supreme Court? And she's like, no, you can maybe have like a circuit court or something. We'll start slow. And at first you might think to yourself, they could have handled this as, yes, let's have the women be magnanimous and better than the way the men have handled things. And of course you can have 3, No, but I think what was great is they're like, well, why don't you do it the way we had to do it? Why don't you start at the bottom? Yeah, you're technically allowed to, but you can start with, you're going to have to earn your way up,
Exactly.
And that's where any argument that, this is unfair to men and stuff. I'm like, yeah. Or just maybe it's treating men the way men treated women all along, like, fine, you can vote, but we're going to like make it difficult. Fine, you can have 1 or 2 representatives, but you're going to have to earn your way all the way up. So I thought that was a nice way of them handling, any argument of, this is unfair. It's like, well, that's the way it worked. If you want to look back 100 years, so that's the way it's going to work in the context of this movie when the shoe's on the other foot.
You have anything else, Zach? I
love the little things like the beaching off.
Yes.
That little saying. It just comes out of nowhere, and then they kind of like bring it back periodically. I thought that was hilarious. It was funny. I was watching it with Andy, and he's like, "Are they just making it like they, like they're just using a different word for the B word?" And I was like, you know what? I don't exactly know. I thought it was supposed to be kind of like beat off, but that doesn't really make that makes even less sense in that context. It's funny if you're talking about beating other people off and out on the beach right there.
Zach, I like to think that your son thinks the B word is beat. that's probably what's going on here.
Yeah, no, he knows about bitch. So, but I like that it's ambiguous enough that you you don't really know exactly what they were trying to do with it, and that's fine. Like, it's still funny no matter what.
And that's the clever writing, is the adults can watch it and laugh at that without it being offensive to have children also watching it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a phenomenal movie. Was there anything else you had, Zach?
No. I think that pretty much covers it.
All right.
There were lots and lots of fun moments, hilarious parts. I absolutely love when Sasha, the America Ferrera's daughter, like lets her have it, lets Barbie have it in the real world when she first meets her.
Yeah.
I thought that was phenomenal, because it like, not only does it show, the current state of kids and what they have to deal with, but it also shows, like, little girls will eventually kind of age out of those toys.
Right.
But there's this perception that, once you like Barbie, you just kind of always like Barbie. And the reality had to really be driven home for Barbie to really, affect the future change that needed to happen. So,
right.
I love those types of moments.
So, like I said at the beginning, this is going to be part of. We're going to be try and take a look at as many of the movies we think are going to be Oscar Best Picture nominations over the next couple months. So it was good to gather around the water cooler again. We haven't done this in a while, and I'm looking forward to this over the next few episodes. If you would like more content like this, you can find everything we've done at 64tacos.com. And if you really liked it, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/64tacos, and you can buy us a taco. Thanks for listening.
I caught it on audio.